is the last video I'm doing today. Indeed, if I do more than an hour of talking, my head gets too fried. Therefore, I can't concentrate on anything for the rest of the day. So, this is the last one for today. Indeed, I've been thinking a little about Sabbateanism and how it connects with Devizes Police. Indeed, Devizes Police are effectively a Sabbatean operation. So it's all very interesting to consider if you connect all of the dots from Devizes Police through the handling of the organ trade by GRU operatives of Israeli heritage, all the way back up to Putin's boys, and the fact that the majority of the clients of the Wiltshire and Sons organ harvesting ring are Russian elites. This leads us back to the Jericho group, which is the chief headquarters in the vaults beneath the Kremlin of the Dome cult. So Devizes Police's operations are technically, therefore, Sabbatean, which is all very interesting to consider. Indeed, as a paranoid schizophrenic, I have a moral responsibility to operate against Sabbatean influences. And therefore, I have a moral obligation to operate against Devizes Police. Indeed, Devizes Police targeted, tortured, raped, and abused me for 2 years. So it's interesting to consider that they wonder why I hate them. I was gang raped by 9 members of Devizes Police on Monday the 7th of September 2020, led by a Sabbatean heritage operative, PC James Spencer of Devizes Police. Indeed, it's all very interesting to consider that Devizes residents wonder why I hate them. For 2 years of persecution, mistreatment, harassment, bullying, rape, and torture. So, also, I realized while I was there what kind of people the Devizes residents were. Indeed, I've elaborated on this in various other videos, so I'm not going to explain it again now. Indeed, the Low Booth family are wondering why I'm targeting them. I'm targeting them because they are a Sabbatean family, and because the daughter is a whore. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, a whore in the sense that she's a liar and a fraud, so very fake female. Indeed, it's all very interesting to consider that a lot of my attacks on Devizes seem to be based in personal hatred. However, this is not necessarily the case. Indeed, as a paranoid schizophrenic, it is my duty to defend the legacy of the 76 mental patients murdered by Devizes residents between the years 1989 and 2001. The Devizes police are attempting to interlink with networks of squaddies down here in Warminster in a combined operation to see me jailed, apparently, so that I can be killed by a Faith of Ishmael adherent on charges of blasphemy. So it's interesting to consider. Indeed, I'm being targeted by Warminster kinsfolk of Devizes residents. Indeed, the majority of Warminster residents that are targeting me are kinsfolk, i.e. family of Devizes residents. So it's interesting to note this singularity. Indeed, it's a Warminster combined operation with Devizes, coordinated by residents of Warminster, while themselves related by blood to Devizes residents, which could mean that they have intergenerational Satanism within their bloodlines as operatives of the Chesterfield cult. Indeed, the Chesterfield cult is one of the deepest, darkest secrets in British intelligence history. Indeed, the Chesterfield cult were originally removed from Chesterfield by Chesterfield residents because they were raping, torturing, drinking the blood of, and eating the babies of Chesterfield residents. Therefore, the Chesterfield residents chased them out in the 1530s and again in the 1570s. Indeed, Chesterfield cult were known for blood sacrifice and toasting the Passover with the blood of dead babies in the matzos bread. So it's all very interesting to consider. What conclusions does that lead you to regarding who the Chesterfield cult are? Indeed, you could say that by speaking this, I am invoking the centuries-old blood libel. But the thing is, I'm invoking the centuries-old blood libel against the people of Devizes. Indeed, William of Norwich, the martyr, was murdered by family bloodlines who became residents of Devizes. In later years, it is the residents of Devizes who toast the Passover with matzos bread filled with the blood of babies. So it's interesting to consider. The Devizes people are Sabbatean, so it's all very interesting to note. And this ongoing exposure will reveal further the Sabbatean identity of the Devizes residents, even though when the Chesterfield cult was expelled from Chesterfield, Sabbatai III was not born, but there were proto-Sabbatean strains before the arrival of Sabbatai Zevi on the scene. So it's interesting to consider that Devizes people's bloodlines have been celebrating the Passover with blood of baby soaked matzos bread for 1,000 years. So it's all very interesting to consider indeed. I therefore invoke the blood libel against the people of Devizes, and I have no qualms in doing so. Even the females in Devizes are guilty of crimes against mental patients. Indeed, Harriet Lowe Booth, because she's obsessed with me, ties up the mental patients that are kept in her basement and effectively rapes them by basically riding them, because she's a freak, basically. So it's all very interesting to consider indeed. The Lowe Booth family of Devizes keep many Russian mental patients in chains beneath their residences. So it's all very interesting to consider what kind of people the Lowe Booth family of Devizes are. And indeed, they are reflective of the remainder of the Devizes population. Indeed, the Marlowe family also have Sabbatean pedigree. So it's all very interesting to note that many of the Devizes bloodlines are themselves direct descendants of proto-Sabbatean families who were operative in Britain before the advent of what we know as Sabbateanism, i.e. the 1660s. Indeed, these proto-Sabbatean families were operative as the Chesterfield cult. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, there's a reason why many females in Devizes are so ugly, and this is because of their bloodlines and the fact that they descend from proto-Sabbatean necrophile cannibal bloodlines. So it's all very interesting to note. Indeed, there are some pretty females in Devizes, and these females tend to be the victims of rape and abuse by Devizes residents, who are themselves from proto-Sabbatean blood lineages. So it's all very interesting to note as I invoke the blood libel against the residents of Devizes, utilizing the theory that William of Norwich was murdered by a network of people who would later become the Chesterfield cult that laid the foundations of Devizes police. So it's all very interesting to note how all of this links up. Indeed, Devizes is essentially a Masonic temple with Sabbatean overtones. So it's interesting to consider. Indeed, Moonraker Lodge number 4787 is a Sabbatean temple engaged in the ritual sacrifice of children. Indeed, the Masons of the Moonraker Lodge number 8747 bathe in the blood of babies after they have ritually sacrificed them. So it's all very interesting to consider. They also eat the babies and eat their genitals also. Indeed, a lot of the meat of the ritual sacrifice victims of the Devizes residence is sold in Walter Rose and Sons butcher shop as pork. So it's interesting to consider that large percentages of the Devizes population are cannibals. Indeed, they also seem to be very close to the faith of Ishmael adherents. Indeed, scarily close. Indeed, there are so many females that enjoy being degraded by being gang fucked by faith of Ishmael adherents. Indeed, I've mentioned the names of these individuals before, so I'm not going to do it here, but it's all very interesting to consider the truth about this town. And indeed, I believe it is my obligation as a mental patient and paranoid schizophrenic to pump the public domain full of information about the truth about Devizes. Indeed, I do actually believe that there are a small percentage of Devizes residents who actually genuinely do not know that this is going on. It's concealed incredibly well. Considering Devizes residents and the Devizes police are country bumpkins, it's actually rather surprising that they've been able to keep this all concealed from the public gaze for 450 years. So, how has this been possible? Originally because of Crown oversight, I imagine, and later because Israeli intelligence would silence any witnesses of any schemes being run by Devizes people. Indeed, the witnesses to the activities of the Chesterfield cult in Devizes are always silenced. So it's interesting indeed. The death toll stands at thousands of mental patients, satanic ritual abuse victims, and homeless people. So interesting to consider that the blood libel must be invoked against the residents of Devizes. And this is not out of personal hatred for certain Devizes residents. This is because I have a moral obligation to invoke the blood libel against the people of Devizes. So it's all very interesting to consider that they engage in Sabbatean ceremonies and were considered proto-Sabbatean in their day and feasted on matzos bread drenched in the blood of babies. So it's interesting to consider what is going on. Indeed, Christian children around Britain were killed by proto-Sabbateans that eventually became the residents of Devizes, and their blood was cooked into the matzos bread for the Passover celebration. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, William of Norwich was killed by people that would later become the Giles family of Devizes, the Rose family of Devizes, and the Cartwright family of Devizes. And indeed, we see the Giles family, the Rose family, and the Cartwright family connecting again as heads of Walter Rose and Sons butcher's shop. So it's very interesting to consider these people are notorious for feasting on the blood of Christian children over the past 1,000 years. So it's no surprise that Ed Giles has a hexagram in his crypt that was given to him by his original tutor, Roger Rose. So It's all very interesting. I am seeing more and more patterns of Sabbateanism in the Devizes population. Yet, as I've stated before, the Low Booth family are prominent Sabbateans, and their daughter reads the Talmud, so it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, there are many theories that the Sabbateans disavow the Talmud. However, this is deception conjured by Talmudists, so it's all very interesting to consider this. The Frankists are technically considered Zoharists and supposedly engaged in Talmud burning, but this was all a counterintelligence deception to attempt to convince the Christian populations that the Frankists weren't Jews. So it's all very interesting to consider all of these counterintelligence operations being run, such as that of Rabbi Marvin Antelman, who claims that the alphabet, i.e. the Lubavitcher personal private intelligence agency, was in conflict with the Jericho group, i.e. the Sabbatean intelligence networks, and this was not the case. Indeed, there was also a false conflict between Rabbi Jacob Emden and Rabbi Jonathan Eiberschutz. Indeed, these are secrets that the Sanhedrin would rather not reveal. However, these secrets are going to see the light of day. Indeed, there was also a false conflict between Rabbi Marvin Antelman and Henry Kissinger. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, all of these people are operative for some form of Israeli intelligence. Indeed, they say that the higher clearance levels you get in the Western and Russian cryptocratic structures, you're almost certainly working for some form of Israeli intelligence, whether that be the Mossad, i.e. the State of Israel's Foreign Intelligence Directorate, or another organization such as the Lubavitcher Reeves Personal Private Intelligence Agency, i.e. the Alphabet, or even the Arch Sabbatean Control Group, i.e. the Jericho Group, who basically control all the other Yiddish networks. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, I know I'm skating on thin ice talking so-called anti-Semitism on YouTube. However, I'm hoping Special Branch leave me alone. Indeed, Special Branch these days aren't entirely sure what to make of me. They know I'm most certainly not a neo-Nazi. Indeed, as I stated before, neo-Nazis in Britain are all controlled by organ harvesting networks of the Mossad. So it's all very interesting to note. Indeed, the British police at the moment are currently being trained by the Mossad for special operations regarding the fact that the British police are beginning to lose control over the populace. And indeed, Palantir could be considered an Israeli firm, although they have deep neo-Nazi interconnectivity, therefore Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst handlers also. But this network, Palantir, are looking to implement an Illuminist police state in the United Kingdom. So it's all very interesting to note that the Devizes residents are very much establishment people, and therefore are hoping the police are victorious in this cosmic conflict between a paranoid schizophrenic and the Freemasonic Sabbatean nexus. Indeed, as I've explained before, all of the lodges in the UK are controlled ultimately by the Sabbatean Control Group, i.e. the Jericho Group, operating out of several bases simultaneously in Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, Frankfurt, and the labyrinthine vaults beneath the Kremlin. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, this Frankfurt connection leads us to the Courier Group and the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst also. And as I've stated, there is a overlapping synthesis between German aristocracy, their hired Nazi thugs, and Sabbateans, which we know as the Bavarian Illuminati and the Asiatic Brethren. However, there are so many interconnecting networks with this link. Indeed, it's all very interesting to analyze, but for any more analysis, you can going to have to wait till tomorrow. So that's it for me for the day. Indeed, I'm going to leave it there now. Thank you.